The samurai knew something you haven't discovered yet. The most important war of your life happens before the sun rises. It's not about waking up early. Any alarm clock does that. It's about what happens in the first 3 minutes after your eyes open. There, in that silent and brutal instant, you make a decision that defines everything: surrender or conquer. Most people lose this battle before they even realize it has begun. They negotiate. They hesitate. They bargain with the pillow for 5 more minutes. And it's exactly in this seemingly harmless gesture that discipline dies. Because discipline isn't about willpower. It's about an invisible ceremony that happens when no one is watching. Not even you. If you can't win this single confrontation at 5 in the morning, the rest of your day is already born defeated. Brace yourself. What you're about to discover will change the way you see every sunrise. Your alarm screams. Your eyes crack open. What happens next isn't random. It's everything. Most people think discipline is built throughout the day, in the gym, at work, during those moments when everyone's watching. They're wrong. Discipline is born in the darkness, in those first 180 seconds when your brain is still foggy and your body feels like stone. The samurai called this the moment of truth. Not because it's dramatic, because it's raw. Here's what nobody tells you. Your mind will lie to you. It'll whisper that 5 more minutes won't hurt, that you worked hard yesterday, that you deserve rest. And if you listen, if you negotiate even once, you've already lost. Not just the morning. The entire day bends toward that first surrender. Think about it. You open your eyes at 5 in the morning. The room is cold. Your bed is warm. Everything in your biology screams, stay. Your ancestors survived by conserving energy, by staying in the cave when it was dark and dangerous outside. That voice isn't weakness, it's ancient. But discipline is about overriding that voice with something stronger. Choice. The test is simple. Can you move your body within 3 minutes of waking? Not think about moving, not plan to move. Actually move. Feet on the floor, standing up, no phone, no scrolling, no bargaining, just immediate action. This isn't about being a machine. It's about understanding that the first decision of your day sets the frequency for every decision that follows. When you hit snooze, you're teaching yourself that comfort matters more than commitment. That feelings dictate action. That you can't trust your own word. The warriors of old Japan understood this deeply. Before battle, before training, before anything else, they practiced instant obedience to their own commands. When the mind said rise, the body rose, no delay, no debate. This wasn't cruelty, it was survival. Because in battle, hesitation meant death. In life, hesitation means mediocrity. You might be thinking this sounds extreme. It's just 5 minutes, right? Wrong. Those 5 minutes are a microcosm of your entire existence. Every time you choose comfort over discipline in that moment, you're carving a neural pathway that says, my word to myself doesn't matter. You're training yourself to be unreliable, to be soft, to be someone who talks but doesn't do. Watch what happens when you win this test. You stand up, your feet hit the cold floor, and something shifts. You feel different, stronger. Not because you're special, but because you kept a promise to yourself before the world had a chance to break it. That feeling? That's real confidence. Not the fake kind you see on social media. The kind that comes from knowing you can trust yourself when it's hard. The 3-minute window is sacred. It's the only time in your day when nobody else has access to you. No emails, no demands, no expectations, just you and your commitment. And what you do with that window determines whether you're building discipline or destroying it. Whether this moment becomes the foundation of something greater, or just another morning where you chose comfort and called it rest. If you want to turn this into real discipline, the KMA method helps you build it in just 5 minutes a day. The link is in the first pinned comment. So you pass the test. Your feet touch the floor. Now what? This is where most people stumble. They think getting up is enough. They scroll their phone in bed, check messages, Let the world rush in before they've even taken a full breath. And just like that, the power of the morning dissolves. They handed their attention away before claiming it for themselves. The samurai had a different approach, a private ceremony that nobody ever saw. Before the world made demands, before the sun revealed their path, they performed a ritual that centered their spirit. Not for show, not for discipline. For alignment, you need your own version of this. Something small, deliberate, and entirely yours. It doesn't have to look spiritual or fancy. It just has to mean something. Maybe it's 30 seconds of controlled breathing while standing by your window. Maybe it's drinking a full glass of cold water in complete silence. Maybe it's stepping outside and feeling the temperature on your skin before doing anything else. What matters is the intention behind it. You're not just going through motions. You're claiming the morning as yours. You're telling your mind and body, I decide how this begins. Not my phone, not my fears, not the chaos waiting for me later. Me. There's something almost sacred about being awake when the world sleeps. The air feels different. Sounds carry weight. Your thoughts haven't been contaminated by opinions, by news, by the endless noise that defines modern life. In these moments, you're closer to your actual self than you'll be for the rest of the day. The warrior understood this intimately. Before picking up his sword, he had to pick up himself. Before facing external battles, he had to win the internal one. This wasn't about becoming fearless. Fear always existed. It was about establishing dominance over his own mind, so that when chaos came, he remained steady. Your ceremony doesn't need to be complicated. Complexity is the enemy of consistency. If your morning ritual requires candles, music, and 20 minutes of preparation, you'll quit within a week. Keep it simple. Keep it fast. Keep it real. Here's an example. You wake up. Feet hit the floor within 3 minutes. You walk to the bathroom, splash cold water on your face 3 times while controlling your breathing. You look at yourself in the mirror for 10 seconds without judgment, just presence. Then, you begin your day. That's it. 15 seconds that change everything. Why does this work? Because you're training your nervous system to respond instead of react. You're building a gap between stimulus and response. When life hits you later, and it will, you'll have practiced pausing, centering, choosing your next move instead of being thrown around by circumstances. The invisible warrior doesn't need an audience. He doesn't post about his morning routine or seek validation for waking early. He does it because the alternative is unacceptable. Because living at the mercy of comfort and convenience is a slow death. Because he knows that freedom doesn't come from having no obligations. It comes from mastering the ones you give yourself. This ceremony connects directly to what you just did by getting out of bed. That was the test. This is the transformation. You proved you could move your body. Now you're proving you can direct your mind. You're stacking small victories before the world has a chance to hand you defeats. You're building momentum when most people are still negotiating with their alarm. And here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. If you can't protect these first few minutes of your day, you can't protect anything. Not your goals, not your peace, not your future. Because everything meaningful in life requires the ability to choose long-term value over short-term comfort. And that ability? It's either trained daily or it atrophies. Let's talk about what happens when you fail. Because you will fail, not maybe, not if you're unlucky. You will lose this battle on some mornings. The alarm will ring and you'll hit snooze. You'll negotiate. You'll choose the pillow. And in that moment, something breaks that you can't see. The first no you tell yourself costs more than you think. It's not just about missing a morning. It's about the conversation that happens in your head immediately after. The justification, the excuse, the story you tell yourself about why this time was different, why it was okay, why you'll definitely do it tomorrow. That story is poison, not because it's mean or harsh, but because it's kind. It's gentle. It gives you permission to be weak and calls it self-care. And every time you accept that story, you make it easier to accept the next one. Within a week, you're back to your old patterns, wondering why discipline feels impossible. Think of it like this. Your mind is watching everything you do. It's taking notes. When you say you'll wake up at 5 and then you don't, your mind learns that your words are negotiable, that your commitments are suggestions, that when things get uncomfortable, you'll find a way out. And once your mind learns that lesson, it applies it everywhere. You'll say you'll start that project, but you won't. You'll promise yourself you'll have that difficult conversation, but you'll delay it. You'll commit to changing your life, but you'll keep choosing comfort until the years blur together, and you wake up one day wondering where all the time went. The samurai lived by a code. Your word was your life. If you said something, it happened. Not because of external pressure or accountability, but because breaking your word to yourself was considered spiritual death. You could lose a battle and survive. You could lose your possessions and rebuild, but lose your integrity, lose the ability to trust your own commitments, and you'd lost everything that mattered. Every morning at 5, you face this choice: keep your word or break it. Build trust with yourself or erode it. Move toward who you want to become or stay who you've always been. The decision seems small because it's wrapped in blankets and darkness. But small decisions compound. They always do. Here's what most people don't understand. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about recovery. You'll miss mornings. You'll fail. What separates people who build lasting discipline from those who stay stuck is what happens after the failure. Do you spiral into guilt and give up? Or do you acknowledge the slip, understand what caused it, and show up the next morning anyway? The warrior who never fell in training never learned to get back up in battle. The person who never struggles with the morning alarm hasn't actually built discipline. They've just been lucky enough not to test it yet. Real strength shows up in the recovery, in the ability to fail and not let that failure become your new identity. But here's the part that stings. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you're voting for who you're going to be. You're casting a ballot in the election of your own character, and the winner is decided by whichever side gets more votes. If comfort wins most mornings, that's who you become. Someone ruled by feelings. Someone who means well but doesn't follow through. Someone who's always about to change but never quite does. The price of the first no isn't just that morning. It's the momentum you lose. It's the trust you break. It's the story you reinforce about being someone who can't be counted on, not even by yourself. And once that story takes root, pulling it out requires more pain than you can imagine. Because now you're not just fighting to wake up early. You're fighting years of evidence that says you can't. So when that alarm screams tomorrow at 5, remember this. You're not just deciding whether to get out of bed. You're deciding whether your word means something. Whether you're someone who does what they say. Whether you're building the kind of person you'd actually want to be. That's the real test. And it happens every single morning in the dark, when nobody's watching and nothing's forcing you. Just you and your choice. Make it count. Your body doesn't want to wake up at 5. Let's be clear about that. Every cell, every nerve, every ancient survival mechanism you've inherited is designed to keep you comfortable, warm, and safe. Your body is doing exactly what it should do, protecting you from unnecessary stress. The problem is, your body doesn't know the difference between life-threatening danger and the discomfort of a cold morning. To your nervous system, they feel the same. This is why willpower fails. You can't willpower your way past biology forever. Eventually, your body wins. You get tired, you burn out, you hit snooze, and suddenly 3 months have passed and you're back where you started. So if willpower isn't the answer, what is? Obedience. Not the kind where someone else controls you. The kind where your body learns to respond to your mind without question. Where the gap between decision and action disappears completely. Where you think stand up and your legs are already moving before doubt has time to whisper. The warriors trained this specifically. They practiced thousands of repetitions not to build strength, but to build automaticity. When the command came, the body moved. No thinking, no feeling, just response. This saved their lives in combat. It'll save yours in the quiet war you fight every morning. Here's how you build this. You start small, and you start with keeping promises your body can actually fulfill. Don't promise to wake at 5 if you've been waking at 8 for years. Your body will rebel, and you'll fail, and you'll damage the trust even further. Instead, wake at 7:30 for a week. Keep that promise every single day. Let your body learn that when you say something, it happens. Then move to 7:15. Then 7. Your body isn't stupid, it learns patterns. If you prove over weeks that you're serious, that you're consistent, that this isn't another burst of motivation that'll fade by Thursday, something shifts. The resistance lessens. The negotiations in your head get quieter. Your body starts to trust that you actually mean what you say. This is the opposite of what most people do. They wait for inspiration, then go all in, then crash, then feel guilty, then wait for inspiration again. It's exhausting, it's ineffective, and it trains your body to never take you seriously because you've proven you'll quit when things get hard. Consistency beats intensity every time. The person who wakes at 6:30 every single day for a year will have infinitely more discipline than the person who wakes at 4:30 twice a week and sleeps till 9 the rest. Because discipline isn't about heroic efforts. It's about reliable, boring, unglamorous repetition. It's about showing up when you don't feel like it and doing the thing anyway. Your body responds to this. It adapts. After enough repetitions, waking at 5 stops being a battle and becomes just what you do. Not easy, exactly, but automatic. Your feet hit the floor before your mind has time to manufacture excuses. You've trained the obedience response so thoroughly that resistance doesn't even show up anymore. But here's what makes this truly powerful. When your body learns to obey your mind in the morning, it carries over everywhere. You tell yourself to start working, and you start. You tell yourself to stop eating, and you stop. You tell yourself to have the hard conversation, and you have it. The gap between knowing what you should do and actually doing it closes until it's almost non-existent. This is what the ancient warriors knew. Discipline in one area creates discipline in all areas. Master yourself in the morning, and you've set the template for mastering yourself throughout the day. Lose the morning, and you're playing catch-up forever, always trying to rebuild momentum that you never established in the first place. There's no secret here, no hack, no trick. Just the simple, difficult, unglamorous work of keeping small promises until they become big ones, of training your body to respond to your mind, of closing the gap between who you say you want to be and who you actually are when nobody's watching. This is where real transformation happens, not in the dramatic moments, but in the quiet morning darkness when you honor your word to yourself one more time, and then another, until one day you realize you've become someone different, someone whose body doesn't fight them anymore, someone who decides and then does, someone disciplined. Nobody teaches you this. Not your parents, not school, not the endless stream of productivity videos you've watched while lying in bed at noon. The ritual isn't about candles or meditation or any of the things people sell you. It's simpler and harder than that. It's about creating a bridge between the person you are when you're weak and the person you want to become when you're strong. And that bridge gets built in the same place every time, the first hour after you wake. Here's what that actually looks like. You open your eyes. You've already won the 3-minute test by getting out of bed. You've performed your private ceremony, whatever that means for you. You've started training your body to obey. Now comes the part that cements everything. You do one difficult thing before you do anything else. Not the most difficult thing, just one thing that requires effort. That creates resistance, that your comfortable self would prefer to avoid. Maybe it's 10 push-ups. Maybe it's writing 1 paragraph. Maybe it's taking a cold shower. The specific action matters less than the fact that you're choosing difficulty when comfort is still available. This is the ritual nobody teaches because it's not flashy. It doesn't make for good content. There's no before and after photo. Just you, alone in the early morning, deliberately making your life harder than it needs to be. And in that deliberate choice, you're carving out something that most people never find. Proof that you can do hard things. The samurai would sharpen their swords every morning, not because the blade needed it daily, but because the warrior needed the reminder. The act of preparation was the preparation. Sitting with the whetstone, feeling the resistance, Maintaining focus. This was the real training. The sword just happened to get sharper as a side effect. Your ritual serves the same purpose. You're not trying to accomplish big goals in the first hour. You're training the part of you that accomplishes things. You're teaching yourself that discomfort isn't dangerous, that resistance is just feedback, that you're capable of more than your feelings suggest. Most people structure their days backward. They do easy things first, telling themselves they'll build up to the hard stuff. They check email, scroll social media, ease into the day. By the time they get to anything difficult, they've already trained their brain to seek comfort. They've used up their decision-making energy on trivial choices. They've let the world set the agenda instead of setting it themselves. You're doing the opposite. Hard thing first. Before coffee, before breakfast, before the world wakes up and starts making demands. You're putting first things first, and the first thing is proving to yourself that you're someone who does what's hard. Everything else becomes easier after that. This compounds in ways you can't imagine when you start. After a week of doing one hard thing first, you start noticing you're more willing to do hard things later. After a month, tasks that used to feel impossible start feeling manageable. After 6 months, you've become a completely different person, someone who doesn't run from challenge but runs toward it. The ritual doesn't have to look the same every day. In fact, it probably shouldn't. Variety keeps it from becoming mechanical and meaningless. But the principle stays constant. Before comfort, choose challenge. Before ease, choose effort. Before the world decides what your day will be, you decide by doing something that matters. And here's the part that ties everything together. This isn't about becoming some superhuman, disciplined machine who never struggles. You'll still have hard days. You'll still want to quit. The difference is, you'll have built a foundation that doesn't crumble when things get difficult. You'll have evidence, not motivation, but evidence that you're someone who follows through. That evidence changes everything. It means when you set a goal, some part of you actually believes you'll achieve it. When you make a promise, you trust yourself to keep it. When life gets heavy, you don't collapse under the weight because you've been training with resistance every single morning. The warriors knew that battles aren't won in the moment of combat. They're won in the months of preparation that came before, in the daily rituals that seemed boring and pointless until suddenly they weren't, until they were the difference between surviving and falling, between mastering yourself and being mastered by circumstances. Your 5 a.m. ritual is that preparation. Every morning you show up to it. You're investing in a version of yourself that doesn't exist yet, but will. Every morning you skip it. You're choosing who you've always been over who you could become. The choice is that simple and that profound, and it's waiting for you tomorrow at 5, in the darkness, in the cold, in the silence. Will you be there? That's the only question that matters. Everything else is just noise. I'm not going to lie to you and say this is easy. It's not. Waking up at 5 in the morning and immediately taking action, without negotiation, without comfort, without the usual excuses, it goes against everything your body wants. But here's what I've learned after years of fighting this battle. Discipline isn't about having an iron will or being naturally tough. It's about understanding that the person you become is decided in the moments when nobody's watching and nothing's forcing you. That 3-minute window between opening your eyes and getting out of bed, that's where your entire life is either built or destroyed. Master that moment, make it automatic, make it sacred, and everything else starts to fall into place. Lose that moment every day, and it doesn't matter how many goals you set or how motivated you feel. You'll always be starting from zero. The warriors knew this centuries ago. Now you know it too. What you do with that knowledge tomorrow at 5 a.m. will tell you everything you need to know about who you're really becoming.